Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Captain's Table. I am your host, Captain B-Nard, and topic of discussion today is going to be WandaVision, a complete review and reaction to the entire season. And here to discuss that with me, returning to the Captain's Table, is the panel, or at least some variation thereof. So we have, for the 12th time, Jonny Reps.
What's WandaVision?
Uh,
Is that like your friend?
yeah, it's first name Wanda, last name Vision.
Oh.
And here also for the fourth time, we have Feltzwild.
What's up?
Not much,
I
not
just wanted to
much.
make a quick important note that I am the 104th fitness podcast in Canada. Check me out at Strength for All.
There you
That's
go.
STRENGTH. Well, people can spell strength and for and all, so that's what it's called.
There you go. So, yeah, with all my viewers tuning in, you just might move up to 103rd. So there you go. There's your
Exactly.
plug early. So, thank you guys for returning to join me to discuss this. So,
Can I do a commercial later?
oh God, maybe if you don't forget, which
If
hopefully
you
you
need
do.
if you need a commercial break at any point, just pitch it to me.
Sure. Anywho, so we're going to be talking about WandaVision today, of course, which is the first live action show within the MCU, of course. The beginning of, what are we on? Phase
What
4
about
now?
Agents of Shield?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, never mind. So it was first show on Disney Plus, as
There we
actually
go.
was what I meant to add. So, yes. So breaking
First
ground.
first show with characters that matter.
Yeah, that too.
The shows never, or the movies never reference the shows, so they don't
Yeah, there's
kind
no
of.
crossover.
Subtly,
Yeah,
they do
so, yeah,
subtly. They
exactly.
subtly measure that.
Well,
The
yeah.
show references the movies, but not the other way around.
Yes, exactly. So that's my point. Exactly. So we're going to be talking about the show, and then also, not only what happens in the show, but also kind of like where we're going to be going forward with the MCU, obviously, because over the past year and a half, there's been a pretty drastic change in the rollout of the content in the MCU. So we're going to get into all that. So, do you guys have anything to add to that?
I guess
No.
I'm the ordered. I'm going first in this talking order, right? Because you addressed me first. So,
Uh,
um,
well, I
do I
was
have
going to
any?
say we're going to go ahead and get started then. So, we're
You
going to
said,
go
do
ahead
we
and get
have anything
started.
to add? You asked me if I have anything to
Do you
add. I
have
wanted
anything
to.
to add, Johnny?
Oh,
All right. So, well, I think the trend of the captain's table here as we hit our 35th episode is devolving into more chaos and dysfunction, but that's all good. That's part of the entertainment value. So, um, yeah, we're gonna get started. So, WandaVision picks up in the timeline of the MCU pretty much immediately after Endgame, and so
what
this
doesn't?
series was. Oh my God, the series was 9 episodes. Would you like to object to that as well, Johnny? Is there not 9 episodes in the season?
I didn't count them, but I'm just gonna take your word for it.
All right, so 9 episodes in the season. So the first few episodes are essentially like a parody of a 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s sitcom, essentially, where it's WandaVision, and it's in black and white the first couple episodes, and it's just kind of like sitcom parody of old, and there's really no
Oh, I have a
explanation.
real interesting game we could do. We could talk about like what sitcoms they parodied.
I mean, yeah, we'll bring those up,
But
but
what if I already know all the answers?
I know, but that's why we can inform our great viewers who probably don't know this because they're all fucking stupid.
yeah,
We
that's.
can,
I mean, I guarantee
we
you they're
can-
all smarter than you. But, Feltz, if you would like to jump in and tell us in within these episodes what sitcoms were parodied, that would be
well,
most
hold on.
helpful.
If she knows all of them, maybe we should like try and guess, and then she's like, no,
Or she
All
could
right.
or
just,
she could just tell us.
or she could just tell us. So go ahead and tell us, Feltz.
The first episode, it was the Dick Van Dyke Show.
All
I
right.
thought it was Leave It to Beaver.
Nope. The second was
There were
Bewitched.
aspects of that.
The second was what now?
Bewitched.
Okay. Yep. That one was pretty obvious.
Uh, the third one was, I believe, the Brady Bunch.
Huh?
Yeah, I could see
And
that.
then
That was when they introduced the kids, I think. Right.
yeah, and then the last
Yeah.
one was a mix of Full House and Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes. So there you have it.
Wait, wasn't there another one after that that was also like the 2000s or something? It was kind of like a reality show. It was like Ozzy. It was like
Well,
fucking Ozzy
a
Osbourne
reality
kind of.
TV show. Yeah,
yeah, one of the
that's
later
more.
episodes. That was
Yeah,
7,
that
I
was
think.
more like The Office and
The
yeah. Oh
Office.
my God, what is that show?
The Office.
Parks and Rec.
No, what is that show?
Community? No, Parks and Rec.
That
The
was
one
The
with Chris
Office.
Pratt.
No,
Well,
no, it's
regardless,
three
those shows where
families.
you have the
The
camera
three
panning.
families.
Yeah.
Big Brother.
Oh my God, it's gonna bug me.
Well,
No.
I can't think of what you're talking about either. But
With
nonetheless,
Sofia
Swiss Family
Vergara.
Robinson.
oh, Modern Family.
Modern Family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's what it
No, it
was.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Modern Family had two dads.
well, whatever. The point is, it's the show. It's that show where they always have like the monologues on camera and like the weird camera
Yeah.
angles zooming in and out. Whatever. That's the trademark. So, The Office did it. Modern Family did it.
Community
Whatever.
also, or not Community. Parks and Rec did it.
Sure. In any event,
That's where Chris Pratt
so,
came from. This is the MCU, bro. Does this mean that Parks and Rec is canon?
Yeah, sure.
MCU canon?
Why not?
Yeah.
So, my thoughts exactly. So, yeah, so that's kind of how the show started off, and we don't really get any explanation as to why this is happening. But obviously, you know that it's something's weird and off because, in addition to like the Easter eggs that are occurring within the episodes, you get also the fact that like, okay, this doesn't make any sense in the MCU because at this point Vision is supposed to be dead, and like obviously they didn't go back in time and bring him back to life miraculously to live back in Leave It to Beaver times.
Honestly,
So,
no, hold up. Legitimately, after watching the first episode, that's what I thought the premise was going to be. I thought they were going to be like Captain America or Loki used one of the stones weird, and they did that.
like took them back
Like
in
if-
time to Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. That's actually what I thought was going to happen after the first
Dick Van
episode.
Dyke. Not Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah, I know. I was just using that as a joke, but yeah, even though obviously Leave It to Beaver doesn't sound nearly as funny as saying Dick Van Dyke, but nonetheless.
I mean, really?
About
Yeah.
beaver cleavage.
Yeah, so I will say though, one thing I have to mention about this phase of the show, because this was the first few episodes, there were a lot of people not happy with this. I don't know if you guys saw any of that. I know
I
you
did.
did, Feltz, yeah, but I don't know if you saw any of those reviews, Johnny. But like, there were
Bunch of bitches.
there were a lot of people not happy about this, and yes, I will agree with you to say that I think that was. People were just being way too like sensitive and critical to say that because everybody
It wasn't their MCU.
well, everybody was
No,
like,
no.
"Oh my
I
god,
think
this
it was
sucks.
just-
It's not blah blah blah." And it's like, okay, let's just hold on for a second. If you really thought that was all there was going to be to this show, you're a moron. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
like,
I
come on.
stupid
This
people.
is the
That's what I was-
MCU. Come on.
I was thinking it was just stupid people being stupid. Like people complain about like everything, and that they're like, oh, it's exactly the same as the other. Because let's be honest, I mean, Marvel attracts a really wide audience, so the wide audience is stupid. That's all. That's it, right?
Well, many of the members can be, yes, and I don't know if it was really that many people who were saying that, but I know there was a vocal minority, we'll say, of people who were complaining about that. But like I said, I think it's ridiculous to think that was all there was going to be to the show, But I didn't mind it because
I thought
obviously-
at one point, because if it was the 50s, I thought at one point they were going to have like Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers as their neighbors.
See, I think you
actually
might have
would've
been
been kinda cool.
one of the only people, to think that was actually going to. Whatever.
That's I legitimately, I kind of thought that might have been a direction they could have taken it at the beginning.
God. Well,
Or maybe just like mention them in passing.
yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
Oh,
oh,
that
Peggy
doesn't-
and Steve. Like they just say
Or something.
Peggy and Steve are gonna come over. Then it's like, oh, they're weird or something like that.
I was thinking of inviting Peggy and Steve over for dinner tonight. Nah, they're weirdos. We don't want them here.
Exactly.
But in any event, so I enjoyed the ride honestly throughout those first few episodes because I thought it was different, it was interesting, it was kind of funny, even though it was very old style, corny humor. I thought that it was fun. It was a fun ride, and it was a change of pace. But again, in the back of my mind, you had to know that wasn't going to be all there was to it, of course. So,
Kind of like the beginning of like old superhero movies where they would have like in the beginning they don't really do an origin like, or maybe the old like Incredible Hulk TV show, and it's just like all these the fun stories that are like, oh, it's the superheroes and these fun stories, and there's not really much like at stake. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's not
So
much
it just
substance or action or anything like that. Yeah, which is I think
yeah,
why
or like
people
how
are criticizing it.
what was the Batman movie that was just like him like fighting thugs or whatever was like the beginning of it? Or am I entirely wrong?
I don't remember.
Wasn't there a Batman movie like that? And it's just like that. It's like completely pointless shit that it's just fun because there's no stakes, and it's not like you don't always need to be saving the damn world.
Yeah, and I think that's something that could maybe use to be leaned on a little more. Is that plot point for sure? Um, but yeah, I know you were enjoying the ride as well, Phelps, with those first few episodes. Yes.
I was.
All
I
right.
grew up on that stuff, kind of. So,
Yeah.
well, my grandparents watched them, so I watched them all the time when I was there.
Yeah, we didn't get a ton of exposure to that kind of stuff growing up, I think, but there was still some to the point that you could appreciate the nostalgia factor, and plus like the Easter eggs and stuff that they were dropping all along the
Like,
way
I
too.
still watch Bewitched.
Oh, okay. Well, that's taking it a
I
bit
think
far, but all right.
I think they watched like our grandparents used to watch like Gomer Pyle and Leave It to Beaver all the
Yeah.
time, and like
Oh, yeah.
Carol Burnett show,
Yeah. Yeah,
like all
yeah,
that
that is
stuff.
true. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but eventually, like I said, it does morph into something greater. So there were 2 episodes in the season, and they were episodes 4 and 8, I believe, which were just pretty much like catch-up episodes, like explanation episodes, where like in the 4th episode, they pretty much spent the entire episode explaining everything about the first several episodes about how essentially it was Wanda who created the this
The
alternate,
Hex.
like, yeah, they called it the hex, the basically bubble of magic enveloping an entire town that turned it into a 1950s family sitcom essentially. So yeah,
But
and
whatever
then
decade she felt like that day.
exactly, yeah, and and they explained like all the Easter eggs that how she had like the remote helicopter that flew in, and the guy coming out of the manhole cover, and like all that stuff, all the other stuff, the radio, um, and whatnot. And they introduce, or reintroduce, I should say, at that point, a whole bunch of basically comic relief side characters from previous Marvel projects as like a
Yeah, like
main
the guy who
cast of
interviews The Rock,
characters.
the guy who interviews The Rock on Young Rock. No one else
I
got that
didn't
reference.
watch that, so I don't know.
The
No.
Asian dude,
Oh,
he's in
Jimmy
Young
Woo.
Rock.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
Yeah.
was in.
really?
Well, I was only going to mention them in the capacity of their Marvel appearances. So they have him, who was like comic relief side character from Ant-Man. Then you have
He was
Darcy,
in
who
that.
was like. Yeah, see, you don't even remember. That's how memorable it was.
What did he
And then you have
do?
Darcy,
What did he
who's
do in
comic
Ant-Man?
relief side character from
Hold on,
Thor.
we got to explain to
He
our
was an
stupid
FBI agent.
listeners.
Again, you're definitely dumber than they are, but that's how you build your brand, folks, by insulting your fan base. That's how you. That's the Jonny
You
That's
get a
Reps
how it
better
way
works,
fan
right
base.
JJ.
there. That's the Jonny
You
Reps
get a
way.
better fan base.
Uh,
You insult him and you get a better fan base.
well,
It's his real name, Jimmy Woo's real name.
the actor, I don't
Hmm.
know. That's his character on in Marvel, but I don't know what the actor's actual name is.
Randall Park. I just looked it up.
There you go. Anywho, you get them, and then you also get Monica Rambeau, all grown up. You may remember her as
And
the
thick.
little girl from Captain Marvel.
She's all grown up and thick.
Sure,
And thick. And she's as thick as
a milkshake,
Sam, help me out here.
a milkshake,
That's too generic. She's as
Oh.
thick as a beef goulash.
whatever. Anyway, so yeah, you get that episode that kind of explains everything, which is fine. And then the next several episodes we have are like the mood of the show is obviously drastically altered at that point, because now not everything obviously, but because you still don't know how it all started or anything like that, but we know kind of what's going on and why it's going on essentially. So then we get another few episodes of back to sitcom land, and then we get what I would consider to be one of the bigger surprises of the season, which
Ant-Man's gay.
no, I
No,
think
not that.
Ant-Man is not involved in this. So I think you know what
Uh,
I'm talking about, Sam, and that is I think it was the end of the 5th episode, I want to say, that they introduced.
Vision
Uh,
actually has a penis.
no, I'm talking about fake Pietro. Yes.
Quicksilver.
Yes, the return of Quicksilver. Although we find out later that it's not actually him. But the ironic fan markout moment was the fact that it's obviously Evan Peters who played Quicksilver in the X-Men universe.
You know, they
So
were both in Kick-Ass.
Yep.
yes, you're only like the millionth person to say that. So
I know, I told you that, though.
yeah, you told me that, and then now you're telling me again for whatever reason. Anyway,
We gotta inform the stupid listeners.
Oh, Jesus.
God, this is going to be a recurring theme, I guess, for this episode.
Yep.
Anyway, so
How do you think Howard Stern got famous?
You're not Howard Stern, Johnny.
With that attitude.
all right, so I thought that was pretty cool. Although, in retrospect, I think maybe it was like when you find out the truth about the whole thing. Maybe in retrospect, it was a little bit of a missed opportunity in a sense, because like there were a lot of rumors about somehow bringing in like Quicksilver, or bringing him back to life, or all that kind of stuff, and they
It was the same cock tease bait and switch that they did with fucking what was his name in Spider-Man? Mephisto? No, the dude with the Sinestro. Jake Gyllenhaal. What the hell was his character's name? Mysterio. There we go.
Mysterio.
It's the same bait and switch bullshit that they did with him, where they're like, "Oh, I'm from the multiverse," but he's actually not. He's just an asshole.
Well, they weren't trying to say that this Quicksilver was from the multiverse. It was, but
I know, but they could have.
well, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, they could, like, I mean, I guess they could still do that down the road and just make him play Quicksilver from the multiverse if and when they do that. But
But then it
I
would
think
seem kind of hollow.
Yeah,
It'd be like they
it would
shot their
seem
load,
kinda,
and then
yeah.
this is like the after load.
Exactly. So I feel like that was maybe a little bit of a missed opportunity, but I still did enjoy the fan service, and I thought it was pretty interesting.
Think Hugh Jackman is going to show up?
Probably not, although
No.
that would be great. But I'd say if Ryan Reynolds and all his money and jokes can't get Jackman to show up, then I don't think anything will. But
Other than in a
That would be
post-credit scene that
great.
was filmed like 10 years earlier.
yeah, pretty much. So, yeah. So then we get that, and we get the story kind of progresses farther from that, and we get like so. There's another burning question that comes out, which is like, I think
Where's
this
the
is
Human
probably
Torch?
no, the biggest thing throughout the entire season, I think, was like, what's the deal?
Where's the thing?
No, what's the deal with Vision? Jerry Seinfeld voice,
What's the deal with Vision?
Yeah,
That was Vision.
Vision.
Oh, Vision. I think he said Vision.
Is it possible?
Like, is there a character that I misnamed Vision?
Is it possible that Johnny keeps getting worse and worse every episode? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm the only reason people listen to these.
yeah, that's why, totally. So anyway, we were wondering that pretty much the whole time, because you think like, okay, what's going on, because initially we're fed what turns out to be a lie, which is that, oh well, Wanda took his body and used her magic to like reanimate his corpse essentially, and so that's kind of like the running theory all the way up until the eighth episode, which is the second explain everything episode, where you kind of find out that Wanda like visited his body and then left it there. So then you're kind of like, okay, so where did he come from? And then you get the the big question answered of how did this all start, which is Wanda essentially through her grief of losing everyone and everything that she cared about, basically like created, in some sort of magical explosion, Yu-Gi-Oh reference from like 15 years ago, into making this whole town, possessed and mystical and whatnot. So, yeah, that was kind of an.
Why didn't they just
interesting-
call Doctor Strange? I think I mentioned this before, but like, well, not in this podcast, but why wouldn't they just like if you see like, oh look, weird magic ball? Isn't that the first person you would call?
Yes.
I know, or
If
maybe
you could-
Wong
if you
at the
could
very
get a
least.
hold of
Wong. If you can't afford a Benedict Cumberbatch, get Wong.
Well, I mean, assuming you can get a hold of Doctor Strange. See, I'm under the assumption my explain away to that is that would just be too much of a cheat and an easy out to
Or
every.
that Sword doesn't even really
Difficult.
know who Doctor Strange is.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if calling either like Doctor Strange or Captain Marvel would be like a
Send
cheat,
him in to bargain.
but that would be
He
just
would survive.
yeah.
Just he'll be like, Wanda, I've come to bargain.
He does know how to bargain. We've learned that before, but I think that would just feel like kind of a cheap way out of every difficult situation that they encounter. So I'm happy that they don't do that. Although yes, in the
But
back
they
of your
made their
mind,
bed. Now they got to. They could have at least come up with a reason for why he wasn't there. Like, oh,
well,
he's stuck in a vase or something like that.
maybe
What
maybe
are they?
maybe that'll be explained in the Multiverse of Madness when that comes out. Who knows?
Maybe Doctor Strange is actually the one who made the thing, and it's not the Wanda.
I mean, if you actually watched WandaVision, which I'm starting to question whether you did or
No.
not,
They can
you would
always
know that
bait and
that's not
switch you.
true.
Have you ever watched a Marvel movie? They can always bait and switch you.
Well, whatever. So, but yeah, I'd like to get your reaction to all of that, Feltz, if you would.
Why Doctor Strange didn't show up?
No. Just trying to get back onto topic, onto the whole kind of premise of like WandaVision, like like how it happened, and like finding out, like that, I guess, the true power of Wanda, and essentially that eighth episode where they kind of like explain everything. Um,
I mean, I don't know how to word it.
all right,
Yeah, I mean, why didn't if
more
she
expert commentary from my panel
No, I was
here.
trying to think.
Okay, the floor is yours, please.
she should have
Okay, you
brought back.
want my opinion on the 8th episode, right?
Yeah, and just how they kind of, because the eighth episode kind of essentially sets the tone, and just kind of gives you basically the entire plot of the series. Like, okay, this is what happened, this is how it happened. How do you feel about that? Do you think it was well put together? It made sense, that kind of thing.
Oh, 100%. Like, I like how they handled it. It's showing they're doing I've read that the way that they were doing WandaVision, it's the stages of grief. And so it's showing all the steps on how she was like how she got to that point. It kind of shows her stages, which is kind of neat. I find like her stages in life of her grief, like what happened when she was a kid with her family, and then
Aren't the stages of grief like denial and then like
yes,
crying and then like anger and then like
that's how
I
it
don't
all
know
started. That's
horniness?
why
Yes.
why she managed to bring Vision back,
Yeah.
was that
Horniness part, right?
the denial stage, right? And then
Oh,
Yeah.
that okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it
Yeah,
was very well done.
it was. I did like that, kind of taking that journey through, and you can kind of like
Uh,
follow or track her descent over the years. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like, it's interesting because Wanda has always been kind of like a side character or a background character of the main team of heroes, so you never really had much of a chance to zero in on her. So
yeah.
you kind of get that opportunity here. And
She just like went through school and lived a normal life while her twin sisters got famous.
what are you talking about?
The actress.
Oh, okay. I should have assumed that. Anyway, so, but yeah, I thought that was well done, and actually, that kind of speaks to the larger, I guess, picture of WandaVision too. Is it's kind of like it felt like really an opportunity to build characters that haven't had as much screen time to be built before, and that's even,
Sometimes literally, like they built a second Vision.
yes, and that feeds into, glad, the first coherent point you've actually made this entire time, and we've been talking for like 20
It
minutes
wasn't
now.
on purpose.
Well, I should have
It's
assumed
not on
that,
purpose.
but yeah. But that feeds into finding out what actually happened to the real Vision's body, which was at the end of that
It's the
episode.
White Vision.
Yeah, black and white Vision. They're doing that which is another thing from a comic. Which, that's
It
another
is.
thing that I kind of failed to
Explain
mention,
what
is
comic.
that Vision. So that's a thing that they've been doing a lot, especially with WandaVision, is they've kind of taken a lot of ideas from a bunch of different comics and kind of like blended them into one story for the show, which I think worked out really well. Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't comment on Sam's favorite thing in the world. Well, maybe not favorite thing in the world, but Agatha. Right?
I like Agatha.
But it was Agatha all along. That was something that you were a big fan of, right?
I was so happy that that theory came true.
Yeah.
The
So
what?
Sad that Mephisto wasn't a part of it, but I was so glad that they brought in Agatha.
well, yeah, because you were saying like the whole time, watching it, like, oh, it's her, and I was like, I don't know about that, but you had your.
You have to learn not to doubt me. when it comes to theories, I am amazing at them.
Yeah, credit where credit is due. You're good at picking things out, and
Oh, you said that Mephisto was going to be there, and you were
I
totally wrong
did,
about that.
yeah,
but I also talked about Agatha.
yes.
If you make enough guesses, I'm sure one of them will be right.
Well, you should know that, but
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so yeah, I think that was all very interesting, and they kind of even
This will
go
either
into
be your
her.
most viewed episode, your least viewed episode, or it'll be somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Obviously, but yeah. So they even kind of gave her a little bit of like a backstory, and you see kind of how everything comes together. Where like she didn't obviously create like the hex, but she kind of like infiltrated it, like seeking the power that
Yes,
created
she
it to
did.
take it.
Wanda created it.
No, Agatha didn't
No, she's
create
talking
it.
about
I
Agatha.
was talking about
Who's
Agatha.
Agatha?
Oh my god.
She's the purple bitch.
The
Yes.
the witchy bitch with the purple.
Agnes.
Yeah.
Purple bitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
with the purple magic and stuff. So yeah, she also like a witch from the Salem witch trials apparently too. So yeah, so yeah, you find all that out, and then we have the big blow off in the final episode where you get the big showdown with her and Wanda. You get the black and white
And
vision.
she's the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, they finally. I'm glad that they
Ugh.
finally got to the fact that Wanda is the Scarlet Witch, because that's something that they hadn't actually talked about in and of the slightest until now. Which
I never realized.
yeah, me too. That's what I was gonna say.
Everybody always referred to her as the Scarlet Witch, like all the fans did. So it's just,
Well, because
everybody knew, but they never actually gave her that name.
Yeah.
You guys want to watch the '90s Iron Man cartoon and then review that for a later podcast? Because Scarlet Witch is in that.
I'd prefer if you actually like focused on what we were talking about now, but I think that's too much to ask. So anyway. But yeah, as far as the name goes, like, yeah, it was something that I didn't even really think about either, because obviously we all know she's the Scarlet Witch, so we never really talked of, or you never really.
I'm
thought
sure
about
Vinny
it.
didn't know.
Whatever. So, we kind of took that for granted, I guess. But it was neat to kind of like actually have to go through something to get to that point. Go through a story and a series of events to get to that point. But you have the big blowout in the last episode with black and white Vision, which is actually the real Vision, versus Wanda's imaginary Vision. Wanda versus Agatha.
Mind Stone Vision, I guess.
Yeah, comic relief
Did
side
they,
characters.
hold up. Did
versus
they ever
Sword.
call Pietro Quicksilver?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
So that means that he's not Quicksilver. So they could bring
We
in the
know
other
that.
Quicksilver. Hold up, but they could bring in the other Quicksilver and
Yeah, but
say
he's
that he
dead,
is
so it
Quicksilver,
doesn't
and then
matter, so-
hold on, and then they bring in Magneto, and they have
Yeah, they have a whole bunch of opportunity bringing in the X-Men now.
Yeah, well, there's always
And we'll
room
see
for
how it works.
Yeah, there's always.
Besides
room for
me,
stuff like
who
that.
do you think could be a really good Wolverine?
Definitely not you.
Well, actually,
Oh, that would be great. I could do the sideburns.
Remember this, Sam? We had a discussion about this, and it was
Did we?
it
Lib
was
Schreiber,
Carl. What's his name?
Karl Marx.
The guy who plays on the
Carl.
Boys. The guy from the Boys.
Oh, Carl Urban.
Carl Urban. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he would actually be a good choice for Wolverine.
Yeah.
Oh, are you talking about he was Bones in the Star Trek reboot, wasn't he?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there you go.
I don't know if he'd be a good.
I think
he was
he would
actually a
be.
good Bones. I don't know if he. I don't know if he'd be a
him
good.
in other stuff.
He would be.
where he's
He
not
would be a
Bones.
very good. I really liked him in the Boys, and I think he would be a very good choice. Having said that, I don't think.
Did you watch those
will
Star Treks?
live up to-
Those reboots?
Not at all.
Yes.
I think you would like them because they're a lot like. They're not really like the old Star Treks at all. They're a lot less substance. So you probably like them.
No, I like substance more than anything, actually. So.
Well, you're a fan of the new Star Wars movies.
No, I'm not. What?
All right, Sam's the fan. Sam's the one who likes the new Star Wars movies.
I was gonna say, like, apparently, like, if you're that out of it that you're not even remembering conversations we had on this podcast.
I knew it was one of you.
Oh, God. Well, anyway, so
Where's Mitch? Where's that Mitch guy? Why isn't he here?
he's been MIA while we work on other projects, so
Okay.
he'll be back eventually. So anyway, yeah, we get all that, and I feel like, okay, so I got to say this, though. I don't have very many criticisms of WandaVision, but one of the criticisms I do have is kind of how they did the finale. I felt like it was kind of anticlimactic. It was kind of like the way that they had the fights at the end, and then it was kind of just like Wanda's imaginary Vision was just kind of like, oh, you're the real Vision. Let me like touch your hole in your head, and then automatically unlock your memories somehow. And then he's like, oh shit, I'm Vision, and then he flies away. And it's like, oh, okay, sure. And then
But he
with
didn't have the Mind Stone.
well, obviously because it's gone. But then you have Wanda versus Agatha, and it's just kind of like, I mean, it was a classic fake out, which I can appreciate, but at the
I thought it
same
was
time,
great.
yeah, the battle itself was kind of lackluster because it was kind of like it goes on, and then Wanda's like, oh, I don't want my power, take it, and then it turns out that she like duped her with the spell that
Yeah,
deactivates her
that's what
power.
I thought. It was great. And
I
then
mean,
she was putting all the runes around, and
so I enjoy a good outsmarting the villain, but like at the same time, it just I don't know. I felt like there could have been more of a battle to be had before that happened. So I don't know. It felt kind of anticlimactic, but all of that is one thing. But the thing that I actually didn't like more than that was so after that's all said and done, which is all fine, then Wanda takes down the illusion, and then for some reason the illusion
The
takes like
illusion.
around the town. The illusion takes like forever to go away for some reason. Like it's not instantaneous. It drags on forever, long enough for her to
Wait. The
walk.
illusion is not the name of the White Vision.
Long enough for I'm just gonna start ignoring you. Long enough for
she did that on purpose so she could say goodbye.
but it's just I didn't like it. Was
Say
so
goodbye to
drawn
who?
out like that. Just her
Her
imaginary.
family.
Yeah, even though they weren't
Who's
real
fam?
though. That's the
But they
thing.
were real to
Vision,
her.
but they weren't actually.
Oh, so it was like
real.
that
But
guy
they
who
were
was
real
with
to
wrestling.
her, and that's what matters.
It was too much.
The guy
It
was
foot
wrestling where he
dragging.
was like, it's still
She
real to
loved
me,
her
damn it.
children.
But she didn't have children. They were imaginary.
Well, what are you going to say about the end of the episode, huh? Huh?
Well, that doesn't mean they're not imaginary. They still are.
I don't think they are.
Well, hold up. Everybody in the town was like a real person that she just like mentally
Brainwashed,
mind fucked.
yes,
So maybe
yes.
her kids were real people who she mind fucked. Maybe Vision was a real person who she mind fucked. I guess that one wasn't true, but it could be the other ones.
No, because that was a theory that I was operating under up until the final episode. But they showed like it like midway through the fight with Agatha where she like starts to partially take down the illusion, and then you see like Vision and the kids just like start to disintegrate essentially. So it's not like they were other people that were brainwashed like everyone else was. They were
They could
literally
always
just
retcon
they
that.
were literally they could, but I hope they don't because that would be sloppy. But they were literally just like
Well, they
created
retconned
by
fucking
her.
Terrence Howard.
Well,
That's not retconning.
that's yeah, seriously.
Recasting.
Anyway, so yeah, that's not a thing as of now. They were just basically figments of her imagination. But my point of this whole thing was that I understand they're trying to do emotional impact, and it's her letting go, and all that kind of stuff. I get that, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, I feel like it was just way too drawn out. Like it's like they walk
Absolutely
home.
not.
It was way too drawn out. Come on,
It was the perfect
they
amount.
walk
You're just a
home.
whiny baby.
No, I'm a whiny baby
You
because
just don't like
hold
the
on,
heart
hold on a
stuff.
second. You saying that someone is a whiny baby because they don't like overly sappy things dragging out is like the most the most backward statement I've heard all night, and that's talking to Johnny. So that's really saying something.
You just don't like the mushy, heartfelt things.
I don't mind it, but I'm just saying it drugged too long for me. If it was just, it happened at a reasonable pace and then it was over, that's completely fine. But I feel like they just foot drug it too long because we all knew at that point, like all the cats were out of the bag. We knew that was what was going to happen, and she was going to take down the illusion, and because they weren't real, they were going to disappear, and that was going to happen. So
She wanted her kids to be asleep, so they didn't know what was happening to them.
I know.
They obviously knew when they were disintegrating, so she didn't want them to go through that.
That's fine, but like I said, I just feel like it was too long and drawn out for my taste. But I would ask Johnny about it, but I don't think he's even actually watched it. So
I watched all of WandaVision. I watched the end, and she's in the fucking broken down house, and she's like, "Wah!" And then she shows up in like the woods somewhere. I don't fucking know what the point of that was.
That's the post credit. So
Yeah. See, I did watch it. I told you.
Well, you could have fooled me by how you're talking about it.
He's like in a cabin in the woods, like fucking Wolverine after he was in Weapon X, and after he was in Weapon X and forgot who he is.
So
I thought she was gonna run into Hugh Jackman. That's what.
yes. So I will say before we get to that point, because that was the post credit. So I also the other thing is like I also found at the end of the episode where she walks out and she faces Monica Rambeau and it's um, she's talking about like all the townspeople are now de-brainwashed and they're like looking at her and
Yeah.
she's just like oh they're just like oh and she's like oh I'm sorry, and then like leaves, and it's just like what, like you like.
I mean, she didn't do it in that kind of a tone.
So I understand that, but like that seemed really kind of like to me because
She's
like.
giving her apology to
But
them.
like you literally hijack these people's lives and
I know.
brainwash
But
them,
what can
and
you
then
do?
oh you're just like oh sorry guys my bad, and then just fly away like what? It's like I don't know. That seemed
But
a little
that
like,
Monica Rambeau, she's thick.
yeah. So
Thick.
okay, so I have a couple of, and then we get the cabin in the woods at the end. So,
Whoa!
Yeah,
Yeah, are we gonna get to that eventually? Because I do not understand that part at all.
I do.
yeah,
Are we gonna get to that, or are we gonna? Can we talk about that right now?
sure, yes.
Sam, please explain it to me. I'm an idiot, just like the listeners.
Okay, what do you want to know? Ask me a question.
Explain it to me. Explain it to me, Lucy.
Okay, do you remember in Doctor Strange where he could astral
I
project?
don't.
Did you ever see Doctor Strange?
Yeah, but I
Okay,
don't.
well, that's
Is that when
exactly
he
what she's
crashed his
doing.
car?
I mean,
That part when he crashed his car?
he did it a bunch of times in the movie. It's when your
What?
spirit leaves your body.
Yeah, the astral.
Oh, like
projection.
when he came to bargain. That part? No, not that part.
No,
Oh,
when
is it when
he's-
he was like fighting the guy in like the dream world or something?
That's not a dream world. It's
That.
astral projection essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So that's what
was
she was
doing
doing.
that.
She was
Yeah.
astral projecting herself while still being like
Studying the book. Yes.
yeah, and studying the book, and then she hears her son at the end.
Yeah, it's probably just in her mind. Like,
No, it's not.
he's not real though. He's not real.
But that's the thing. I don't think they were meant to be real, but I think when something happened when she took it down completely, because they're setting up for the Young Avengers, right? And her children are in the Young Avengers, and
Hold
so
on.
and it's
But
Better
like,
find a
exactly
husband
those
that
two.
doesn't
Listen,
have
hold
a
on.
robotic penis if they're gonna make
But
it
Bernard-
act
that's
from
not how
Bernard's-
they're. Oh.
Bernard's wrong because like there's. I'm just saying from a storytelling perspective, there would be no reason for her to hear her children unless they actually existed. It would be a fucking.
Exactly.
It would be a Chekhov's gun. Is that the right cliche I'm using there? Probably not.
Yeah, Agatha might have been screwing with her too. You know that, right?
Well, yeah, but
Agatha's
Agatha
fucked
is
up. She's
brainwashed.
gone. She's a no. She's a nothing now.
Not
She's like
not at that. Okay. When Wanda
she's
was
as
first pulling
powerless as
down the
Bucky after he got defeated by Steve Rogers.
No, we're not talking about him right now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we're talking
Like the
about
ultimate example of like once he joins your side, he's weaker. Like as soon as you beat the boss and he joins your side, he's weaker. That's Bucky.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can't disagree with that. However, that has nothing to do with anything here. I think that like eh, the whole thing with her and the kids and everything is just like I don't know. I find it, pushing the boundaries of like, obviously to me, it has been established through the events of the show that they were not real. They were a figment of, they were created by her. They were essentially a figment of her imagination, come to life via her magic. And whether that, happens again or manifests again, maybe it will, and maybe that's what we were hearing at the end in the post credit clip of like she used her
Maybe she's
magic.
making a new dream world, but it's in the woods now, so it's not going to ruin anybody.
Very possibly, yes, could be.
And maybe Wolverine's going to be there.
No, that's not very possible. So,
It depends on if they have the budget for Hugh Jackman, which they don't.
Nobody has the budget for Hugh Jackman anymore. So
I actually heard recently that Hugh Jackman is the second longest. He had the second longest amount of time playing a character in like cinema history, behind Sean Connery playing James Bond.
Nice. So yeah, I guess that more or less wraps up what actually happened in the show. But that obviously leaves the door open for a lot of questions unanswered or otherwise, and then speculation toward the future. So, couple things that points that I want to raise, essentially here. Well, actually, one overarching, thing I want to run by you guys here, maybe before we even start talking about that, is and this was kind of a burning question I think for a lot of fans as well, is like who's really the villain in WandaVision? So
The
my
fucking evil white man. Come on.
now there's three possible answers to this, and since you said it, yes, because we haven't talked much about Sword, since I guess it wasn't that important. But so you have Sword director, whatever the hell his name was, that guy.
Director Voldemort.
Yeah, his name doesn't matter. So him. Then you have Agatha, obviously, and then you have Wanda. Now, in my personal opinion, and you guys may disagree with this, but I think if you really look at the events of WandaVision from top to bottom, you have to come to the conclusion that Wanda is really the villain of this story. Because, so if you think about it, um, of all three characters that I mentioned, those could be your three answers for antagonists. So if you think of the guy who was the director of Sword, right? So was he really a villain? Like, yeah, he was a dick, but like he wasn't. So all he was really doing
He didn't
was,
really fucking do
yeah,
anything.
he
It
didn't
was
really
like
do much.
everything he did was like he tried to be an asshole and he tried to be a villain, but he kind of really didn't do anything that actually had any consequences.
It could have.
Except for bringing Vision back to life, that kind of has
Yeah, it's really
consequences.
Yeah, but
But
even the Vision came back to life, and then the other Vision is like,
Yeah,
"Hey,
but
let me give you,
exactly
let
what
me do some,
happened.
let me do some psychological computer thing." Like that was a cliche in like so many things where they confuse the computer by giving it like a logical question that it can't really answer through logic. Like, oh, well, you're supposed to destroy the Vision. Are you not the Vision yourself? Right?
yeah, so as far as that goes, though, I will say I would argue I don't even think he was really trying to be a villain because if you look at what he did, all he did was his job essentially. He tried to do his job. He tried to save the people who were trapped in the town by Wanda. He did, albeit questionably questionable means, or the morality of which was maybe questionable, but at the end of the day all I view that guy as is he's just trying to do his job. And yes, bringing Vision back to life to have like a super powered weapon to fight supernatural forces, but it's like, okay, can you really blame him for that? Because like, it would be nice to have a super powered weapon to fight some supernatural forces, because you're outgunned otherwise. So I can't even, in my mind, I mean, yeah, he was kind of a dick, but like in my mind, I don't even think you could really call him a villain or even trying to be a villain. As for Agatha, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't even think she was that villainous because all she was really there to do was get power, to take Wanda's power. So I feel like, albeit again using questionable means to do so, but it's like she wasn't there to like kill Wanda or like hurt anybody or like, she wasn't even there to like break Wanda out of the illusion or anything
Just
like
wanted to
that.
have a good time.
She was just there to get power, to seek her power again, albeit questionable means, but like, is that really that villainous? Like, and even in the flashbacks of her, like, it's not like she was seeking anyone out to like harm anyone. She was actually like, in the flashback where they show like her origin kind of, she was basically just defending herself from all the other witches that wanted her dead. So in my mind, when you take all that stuff and you compare that to what Wanda actually does in WandaVision, it's like, okay, she takes an entire town hostage, brainwashes them all, mind fucks them all, doesn't let them break out, hurts anybody who tries to get in her way of enacting that, and then, yes, at the end she, sees the light and repents and comes back and whatever, but that doesn't really change the fact that the damage has been done. So I don't know if either of you guys want to weigh in on any of this, but I'm really feeling like the facts really just point to Wanda is really the villain of this story. Felts?
Yes and
I don't
no,
know.
because Wanda didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
And the real question is, whose ass would you rather motorboat? Wanda or Monica Rambeau? It's a really tough call, man.
Why do I even invite you on these things? I don't even know anymore.
I wish I knew.
Yeah, I don't know either. But
Damn, you want to weigh in on this?
Yes, I not the motorboating thing. Just to be clear, I don't want you to weigh in on that. I want you to weigh in on it, and I get what you're starting to say. Like, yes, there was no malice behind what Wanda did, and but you could also argue there was no malice behind what Agatha did or what behind the
Yeah,
sword
but she was
director guy
a
did.
power hungry bitch, and the sword director guy was just like obviously in the moral uh, low ground. I think the real villain is the viewer
Oh my god, would you care to comment,
because
Phelps?
hold on, because the viewer watched the events of the WandaVision show and they supported the evil empire, Disney, right? So therefore, the viewer is the villain.
Are you calling yourself a
And the
villain, Johnny?
and yes, and hold on, and because they watched the show, they could have not watched the show, but they decided to watch it anyway. So Disney has made you the villain.
Phelps, your thoughts?
Prove me wrong.
As I was saying earlier, technically Wanda is the villain, yes.
Aha!
But no.
No. Hold on. She's not the villain. She cannot be a villain because she's a woman. There's no female
Oh
villains.
my god.
You were saying that,
None.
Phelps.
Except
Anyway.
Hela. Except for Hela. But she's not even really the villain. She just kind of misunderstood. The real villain is that evil Surtur because he's voiced by Clancy Brown, who also did the voice of Mr. Krabs and Dr. Neil Cortex and the dude from Highlander and the other dude from Starship Troopers and many other voices.
Anyway, Phelps. I'm not going to respond to any of that because there's no reason to.
She's inadvertently a villain because she did not do it on purpose. She didn't know she was doing it. Whenever Vision asked her, how are you doing this? She was being honest. She had no idea. She had no idea what she was doing.
She was being dishonest.
Sure,
There's
she
no
had like
way
the
she could
small.
not know that.
I do find that I gotta
It's not like
say.
she just shits out an alternate universe and doesn't know it.
Well, that's
She
pretty
kinda-
much what we're
she-
being forced to believe, which
she
is why,
did.
I do find a hard time. That's a difficult pill for me to swallow because yes, I understand we're supposed to accept that she didn't know what she was doing and there was no malice behind it and all that. But
If she was a true villain, she never would have taken it down. I do believe, I do think she's going to become a villain, like an actual true villain.
well,
But
she was more of a tragic villain in this story, absolutely.
okay, that's
But
yeah.
but still operating in a villainous capacity, and I do find it a hard pill to swallow that you did all this and don't remember, like I guess post-traumatic stress amnesia, whatever, possibly,
Denial,
but like and
she's living this
denial.
world that she wants.
Yeah, I mean that's where it becomes a bit of a stretch for me. I hear what you're saying, and to a point I agree, but it does become a little bit of a hard sell at that point.
What about Tobey Maguire?
Has nothing to do with the topic at hand, like just about
When's he
everything
going to
else
show
that
up?
you've said. So,
But
yeah.
don't you think it's possible that Wanda could create an alternate reality that would include him funk dancing as Black Spider-Man?
Yes, it is possible.
Sure.
See,
I think
thank
that's
you.
how she's going to become the villain.
By creating
that's-
Tobey
She's
Maguire.
going to bring in Bully Maguire.
That would make her
She's
the
gonna become
ultimate
villain
hero.
by bringing in Bully Maguire.
That would make her
Yeah.
the ultimate hero if she created Tobey Maguire.
But I think that's what Doctor Strange is going to be about. I think she's going
creating
to
Bully
try
Maguire?
whether her sons are real in this world or she kind of brought their essence from the multiverse because she hears them. They're real somewhere, right?
Yeah,
So
It's still real to me, damn it.
I think
yeah. That about sums
so.
it
I
up.
think she's going to open the multiverse, and I think that's somehow going to create the villainous side of Scarlet Witch.
Well, there's a lot more.
Whether that lasts or not is another story, but
Well, there's a lot of unanswered questions and a lot of intriguing points toward the future, and that is certainly one of them. Absolutely, that was kind of what I had alluded to before that I wanted to talk about for a bit. One of the big ones for me, actually, I'll mention two of the big ones for me. First and foremost is Vision. Like, what's going to happen with Vision in the future, because like he's kind of like off on his own, he's rogue, he's like reassembled, so he's
He's not
presumably
Rogue. Rogue is the
obviously-
fucking chick with the southern accent who steals people's powers.
God, Jesus Christ. So we don't know Vision. What's going to happen with him. We don't know. because it seems like he has his memory back, but obviously he doesn't fully have his memory back, or he wouldn't have probably run away. So it's going to kind of be one of those stories. So I'm interested to see where that goes. I'm also interested to see where they go with Monica Rambeau because, and I don't know if you guys had thought about this or considered this. I think that so obviously when she like breaks into Wanda's illusion, she gets like some kind of powers, although they're kind of like very loose and undefined powers. Um, but then when Wanda
Ooh.
takes the illusion down, the question that I have that I'm wondering about is, was her power that she had just part of that illusion, kind of like the way that Quicksilver, fake Pietro slash fake Quicksilver's powers were just part of like Agatha's illusion, essentially. So, or because she's not shown to have any power after the illusion gets taken down. So,
She never really gave it, like, why would she show it? She had no reason to.
well, that's an argument. That's a possibility. But I'm also thinking maybe she doesn't
No,
have
no,
any
no, no.
power
I'm
now.
thinking that she doesn't know that she has the power. You notice that? Like, she doesn't even know. Like, when she got shot, she thought that the Quicksilver kid and the Scarlet Witch kid saved her. You notice that when she got shot, she
Yeah.
did not realize that she was just like Superman woman all of a sudden. So she doesn't realize how thick that ass is yet, but she's gonna figure it out,
Yeah,
and then
that's
she's gonna be
that's
dangerous.
yeah,
It's
that's
probably going to
possible.
be the premise of Captain Marvel 2.
It'll definitely be part of Captain Marvel
Yeah,
too. I
maybe not the
think.
premise,
Well,
but yeah,
because
it would
that
be.
was the other post-credit scene was the scroll coming to her and saying she wants to speak with you upstairs or something like
Yeah, she's
that.
been
So,
grounded, so obviously she's been
yeah,
up, like, in space before
yeah. Well,
with her Aunt Carol,
right.
who she got her powers from,
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
because
Julia
she is
hates her.
Photon.
Well, yeah, but that's like that hasn't happened yet though. But
No, but that's who she gets her powers from.
yeah,
It's
that's
not
that you're
Wanda.
jumping
It's
into the future of
no,
some
I'm not
stuff.
jumping.
That's
I'm not. No, I'm not jumping. I'm not jumping.
that's okay. It's okay. That's we're that's what we're doing now is looking toward the future. So
I just got to be honest with you. My wife hates all of these like bullshit, like forced female strong characters. Like she thinks it's like really fucking insulting. Like
okay.
Monica Rambeau, she finds her really annoying, and she hates uh, not Wonder Woman. God damn it, Captain Marvel.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, uh, certain. So I don't know. I feel like there's a plethora of
you know who she
reasons.
likes? You know who she likes?
Scarlet Witch.
No, she likes
I do.
Black Widow.
Yeah, I mean everybody
Also
You
likes
knew
do.
that.
Black Widow because Scarlett Johansson, But
No,
um,
because she like uses her sex appeal and is also a badass.
okay.
But like fucking Monica Rambeau is like a completely it's just a character who comes out of nowhere and has like it's like oh her backstory is like you're supposed to like her because she's tough and awesome. I mean yeah I can appreciate that ass, but I
So
can
I mean,
She
appreciate
didn't come out of nowhere.
yeah.
she doesn't really have much of a backstory. I mean she kind of does. They kind of
She
establish it a
does.
little bit
Well, that's kind of the
in
point of
Captain
Wanda
Marvel.
of her involvement in the show here is to give her more of a
I don't know. I
backstory.
guess what
Like
I'm getting at is like I just don't think the actress is like it seems kind of forced, and the actress seems kind of like I don't know. I don't. And the other thing is, I don't think the actress is bad for the role.
so I'll if we're talking about since we're looking toward obviously with these characters the second Captain Marvel movie,
and
I'll
Doctor
get
Strange
I can agree
and
with
Thor
that.
with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, so but in this situation with obviously with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, I'm totally fine with Monica Rambeau. I like her. Obviously I think there's more to be developed there as far as like a character and a story and everything. And like right now we don't know a lot about the character because obviously she wasn't like the main character of WandaVision. She was just like a supporting character. But all you pretty much know is yeah, she was a little girl, in the '90s, and then time passed, and then now she's back and doing stuff again. So I mean, we'll see where it goes. So I don't have an issue with the character or the actress. I mean, I think as far as Captain Marvel herself goes, I can understand where people are coming from with that. I don't personally. I'm not a huge fan of the whole Brie Larson as Captain Marvel and all that. Like, I don't think it's bad. I'm not a huge fan of it, and I think we talked about this before in the MCU power rankings. Is that I think when you're not as good as the incredibly high standard that the MCU sets for everything, then you're going to look worse by comparison. So I think her
You'd
character
be
and her
fine in the DC
portrayal,
universe, is what you're saying.
sure, yeah, yeah, Brie Larson and Captain Marvel would be fine, would be fine in the DCEU, but in the MCU it doesn't quite meet the bar. So sure. Um, but yeah, it is what it is. I think there's everybody's trying to get their own stuff promoted and everything, and people are trying to get as far as the characters go. I mean, a lot of it is source material. The creators of the shows take liberties with that sometimes, and it is what it is. But overall, not really an issue for me. Um, but so
I
there's
think that they should bring in the other Captain Marvel, the third Captain Marvel.
who Monica Rambo.
Now, Sam, do you know who the third Captain Marvel is?
No.
Wasn't it supposed to be Jude Law's character? Wasn't he like the other Captain Marvel, like the
No, it
third
was
one?
supposed to be her mom, who is now deceased in the MCU timeline, wasn't it? Monica
Yeah,
Rambeau's mom.
that might have been true. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was supposed to be the dude who was Jude. What was Jude Law's character's name?
Jan Rog.
Yeah, that dude.
He was a bad
He was
guy
supposed to be.
though.
Yeah, but he was supposed to be Captain Marvel, I think, if I
I don't
remember
know. I'm
correctly.
not. I've never see another part thing is if we're talking Captain Marvel. Another thing with Captain Marvel is I was never really that big of a fan either with like the source material or anything, so I never really followed Captain.
See, I didn't
Marvel
realize
much.
this. You remember the '90s X-Men cartoon when Rogue has like all of her crazy powers, like she can fly and she's super strong?
Yeah.
You know why she had those powers?
Why? Because she touched Captain Marvel.
Yes, she stole because her name was Miss Marvel back then, but she like
Yes.
drained all of her powers, and Miss Marvel was in like a coma because Rogue like drained all of her powers.
I totally did not remember that.
But that's
Neither did
interesting.
I,
Like
and I
that.
used to watch that show.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to
but I
watch
did.
that show religiously, but I did not
I
remember
only
that.
realized it because I was watching some episodes back, and they showed the episode where that happened, where because I remember she drained like somebody, right? That's how she got
Yeah,
her powers, where she was like, and it was
she was like
Miss Marvel.
Superwoman. Yeah, yeah. I guess
It
that
was
does
Miss
make a lot
Marvel.
more sense now.
Yeah,
So interesting. Wow, that's like the second relevant thing you've contributed to the conversation. Good
it's
work.
actually not really relevant.
I mean, kind of, sorta, but relevant to talking about Captain Marvel. But anyway, which is not obviously
Blew your
WandaVision. So,
mind.
sure. So, yeah. So
Wakanda forever.
there's that stuff. Sure, there's that too.
Speaking of which, I just want to take this moment to say, Rip Chadwick Boseman, you were too sexy and you went way too soon.
Well said. Well said.
And the only person who could ever replace him is Robert Downey Jr. But unfortunately, he's already Iron Man and dead. So
Yeah. So yeah, but there's not just that stuff that we're talking about, but yeah, there's also yeah, I guess there's more stuff to look forward to in the future. Um, so the
yeah,
one
why
thing.
was the Skrull trying to talk to Monica Rambeau? Was she like, we're gonna reboot Rambo First Blood, and you're gonna be in there instead of
No,
Sylvester
she was
Stallone?
calling her up to work with Captain Marvel, which would presumably be in the next Captain Marvel movie, which is what we just got done talking about.
Oh yeah, you're right about that one.
So yeah, and then we already talked about the other end credit with Wanda in the cabin in the woods and all that
Is there
good
anything else to
stuff.
talk about?
Yeah, I mean, not. I think that pretty well wraps up actually WandaVision, the show as a whole. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to add about the show specifically, anything you liked or
That
didn't
costume.
like. Yeah, so Feltz,
That costume, though.
Sam was a huge fan of the costume, even though I thought it was nothing spectacular. It was pretty just basic red and black dress with some nice designs, but I guess you were very enamored with that.
Oh, I was.
I thought it was pretty good. I didn't. I'm kind of like between you, but I think her Halloween costume was even better because you
Oh
could see
yeah,
them.
okay. So another thing I guess we should mention is all the fan service, and I think I did touch on it earlier. But yeah, the fact that in the Halloween episode, all of their costumes for Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, and Vision were like their
And the
comic
kids.
book costumes, and the kids. Yeah, so that was that was pretty funny, and that was a pretty nice fan service there. There's quite a bit of fan service in the show actually too. I mean, even just Evan Peters' existence in the show was fan service. Um,
Pretty much.
so yeah, there was a lot of
And
that.
the White Vision,
Black and white vision.
and and also like subtle references to different plot lines in the movie or from the comics.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. So, I think all that overall, like all of that, I guess, before we move on, I will say, overall, I have very positive feelings about the show.
I don't.
I liked it a lot.
I didn't.
Aside from like I said, the way they did the ending was kind of I thought they could have done it better. I didn't hate it, but I thought they definitely could have done it better. But the show as a whole, I felt good about. I liked it. I think it was definitely starting. I guess this is more or less starting Phase 4, although we already had Spider-Man like almost 2 years ago at this point now.
No,
Um,
Spider-Man was supposed to be the last movie of Phase 3.
was it okay? So yeah, so I guess this is the
I
official.
thought,
I thought it was the start of Phase 4, but maybe I'm
yeah, I
wrong.
thought Far From Home was starting.
No, they actually said Far From Home was supposed to be the last Phase 3
Okay.
movie.
Okay. So yeah, regardless of that though, so yeah, this is more or less kind of sort of maybe the start of Phase 4. So yeah, it's I think it started out good. It leaves a lot to be desired for or a lot to look forward to, as well. A fun ride as Marvel always is. Everything having to deal with them. Um, so with that being said, I think we can talk a little bit about like the way that Marvel is kind of going in the future because they're kind of altering their um, plans,
Hmm.
I guess, in a sense of product distribution. So they're coming out with all of these Disney Plus shows. Obviously, WandaVision was the first of many Disney Plus shows.
And
What do you mean end?
The Mandalorian.
Well, we're talking about the MCU, not Star Wars. But as far as the MCU goes, WandaVision was the first MCU show on Disney Plus, and obviously there's many more to come, which will further build the MCU by essentially focusing in on characters who have not quite had the limelight or screen time, whatever you want to say, in the MCU movies, and of course the next one coming up, which will be coming up very soon, actually,
Friday.
is yes, this just a few days away is
By the time this
what
podcast is out,
yeah, what is it? What is it, Feltz?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes, in the most girly kitty voice you could possibly muster.
That's my husband. Okay.
Yes, Feltz Wild is in love with Sebastian Stan for reasons we're
hold on, I
not
gotta make.
quite sure, but
He's got the emo hair. You just gotta if
not
you have the
anymore.
emo hair,
Not anymore. He
make
don't.
the emo hair. Be like, look, I'm an emo boy. You
Not
gotta
anymore. He
like
ain't.
me because I'm an emo boy.
Oh,
Yeah. So that's not a thing anymore. But yeah, we have that coming out. That looks good, obviously. Then we have I don't know is Loki next after that, or is there
Probably.
something
I think
else?
so. They also have Miss Marvel.
Yeah, but that's gonna
That's
be
coming eventually.
that's a little ways away. Miss Marvel,
It's
Yeah.
Miss
and
Marvel.
then there's a couple
What's
other
Miss
ones.
Marvel?
There was a what was the other one? There was a
What is
fourth
Miss
one.
Marvel?
It's a
Hawkeye.
show. Yeah,
She's
Hawkeye. That's what I wasn't thinking of. But yeah,
that's being filmed right now. Is
yeah. So
Hawkeye
that's
speak?
gonna be after Loki, I
What
think.
is Miss Marvel? Like, who's in it?
Miss Marvel.
I don't know who's in it, but
Is it like
it's
Captain Marvel?
No, it's about
no.
Miss Marvel, who's that character, who's that.
She can. She's almost. I guess the
She's
way
kind
to
of like
describe
Mr.
her.
Fantastic, essentially.
Yeah.
So, but
So
like,
Miss Marvel is like, but Miss Marvel was Captain Marvel.
yeah, but they're making it a separate character because I don't know if it had its origins in that Avengers game, or Miss Marvel was a character
She has
before
her own
that.
comic.
Yeah, but that was what really brought her the limelight. I think was
But
the
like Miss
Avengers game.
Marvel,
Oh,
Captain
game, yeah,
Marvel.
for sure.
Hold on.
Uh,
Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, and Shazam used to be like all the same character.
yeah, you're going back decades now before
But
the
they were just called Captain Marvel and it was a dude. And then it became
yes.
Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel, and then it became Shazam and Captain Marvel, and apparently now Miss Marvel also. And then there was apparently multiple Captain Marvel, and there's Monica Rambeau who's like Photon. It's just all confusing.
Well, so the character of Miss Marvel has nothing to do with any of that. So
No.
Wrong.
yeah,
Miss Marvel was
She's
the
just
original
called Miss
Captain
Marvel.
Marvel.
aside from the
Fan of
name,
Marvel.
the actual character has nothing to do with that. So
Maybe now, but Miss Marvel was Captain Marvel back in the day.
yeah, so right. But yeah, so there's a lot coming out, a lot to look forward to. Um, it's interesting. I think it's interesting
Are we
to
getting a
see.
Nightcrawler?
I don't know when X Men comes out. But yeah, so I think that it's interesting to
His name Kurt
see.
Vonnegut.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the way that they're kind of changing direction a little bit in the MCU. So they're coming out with all these Disney Plus shows that are kind of zeroing in on, like I said, characters who were more like side characters or supporting characters, mainly in
Like
the
Vision.
MCU movies. And then they're also coming out with, a couple of MCU movies that are focused on characters that hadn't really had center stage before either. Like they're coming out with the Black Widow movie, which has been delayed like more times than I can count. But do you know when it's actually coming out now, Feltz?
Supposed to be
It's
this May.
May. Okay, gotcha. If they don't
It's
postpone it
gonna
again.
be May.
Yeah. So if they don't postpone it again.
Yeah.
And then the next movie
I
after
wait to get
that
COVID.
is it the Eternals? Is that the next movie
I
after that?
don't remember their list.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I know they.
I have a feeling
I know
Marvel
the
is never
last
gonna reach
and
the heights it previously reached.
well, I mean, so yeah, we can talk about that in a second. But I was going to say, as far as the release schedule goes, I know they've changed it a lot thanks to the unfortunate world circumstances we've endured over
Yeah.
the past year. So
We're
there's been a lot
supposed to
of
still get the new Spider-Man in December. As far
really
as I
that
know.
soon. Okay,
Yeah.
so Spider-Man 3, I get, or whatever the title's going to be, I don't know yet, but
It's already been released. It's oh, for God's sakes. Why do I
Spider-Mongo.
never remember things?
oh, I didn't see that they
It's
released the title for it already.
Yeah, let me just continue. I'll just look for it quickly.
Spider Stan. Is it Spider Stan?
So no, but Johnny,
Spider Ban.
you brought up a point that I want to focus on for a second here. So you're of the mind that you think maybe the MCU has peaked at this point, and you don't think it's going to
Oh, of course.
maintain its high stature.
Well, you have the Endgame was the highest box office draw ever, apparently, but until it just got passed by Avatar like last week. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, the re-release, I did see that, which was kind of interesting. But
Yeah, so I mean, it's like, top one or two movies of all time. So I really don't see that happening again, unless you know what they have to do. They're gonna have to like bring Robert Downey Jr. back to life. Bring back. This is the only way. Mark my words. The only way they're ever gonna beat Endgame in terms of box office is if they bring Robert Downey Jr. back to life. They somehow entirely eliminate COVID within the next 6 months,
uh-huh.
and also they got to bring in Galactus. They got to have Chris Evans as both Captain America and the Human Torch, and they need to have Killmonger as both Killmonger and the other Human Torch, and he needs to become Superman and cross over with the DC universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to beat Endgame in terms of box office.
Well, I mean, okay.
And Hugh Jackman needs to come back.
So that would do it, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I feel like I do get what
And
you're.
one more thing, and they need to integrate like MCU with Star Wars.
Yeah, that's not going to
Not
happen.
happening.
So I will say I get what you're saying to the point of, Endgame seemed like such a. I mean, it was the culmination of what, like 21 movies of worth of a universe that was built around this concept, around this goal, and it doesn't seem like it can get any bigger than that. And I do agree with that mindset, but at the same time, if the MCU and Marvel has taught me one thing over the past, what is it now, 13 years, it's that never underestimate them. Never think that you've seen the best from them, and never think that it's all downhill from here.
And then Ant-Man 2 comes out, and you're like, I
Because
guess it's about as good as the first one.
I mean, yeah, I mean, not always does what they do supersede what they've done, but at the same time, I do have faith that they're going to carry the torch forward, and they're not going to, um, really falter. I will say, I think you're
And now that
probably
Tony
going to
Stark is
see.
dead, Happy Hogan's gonna move in on Pepper like that.
No,
Or
he's
Aunt
already got
May,
his eye
one of
on
the two.
He's already got his eye on Aunt
Yep,
May, but
one of the two.
um,
Jennifer Lopez.
you mean Marissa Tomei?
Marissa Tomei, there we go.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, speaking of Spider-Man, it's No Way Home.
Really? I thought that was a joke when I saw that. I guess I did see
It's a
it.
joke.
So, No Way Home. I literally thought that was a joke when I saw Spider-Man No
They
Way
were
Home.
doing jokes about the titles, and then that was really
No, it's actually the
Uh,
name of it is actually Spider-Man 2 Home Alone, Lost in New York.
okay.
okay. So,
My bad.
my point is, anyway, as far as the future of the MCU and the popularity goes, I will say that I think they are going to take a little bit of a hit for starters because they've lost really their franchise players essentially, or who have been their franchise players up until this point, and obviously Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Captain America, Chris Evans, and Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, which everybody's up in the air with the movie, like, oh, is it going to be somehow some magical bullshit that brings her back, or what's going on? We don't really know yet exactly what that's going to entail, but we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think they will take a little bit of a hit initially, and then they still have a lot of people, obviously, in the universe to build on. So I think that they're going to
Like,
lose
where's
some
Ant-Man's
more.
friend? What's his name? The dude who's like, what's his
Michael
name? The
Pena.
guy who looked like Jason. What's that?
Michael Pena.
Yeah, like what's Michael Pena up to? That's
I
what we
don't
want to
know.
know.
They could have totally stuffed him in Endgame for like 30 seconds for some nice comic relief, for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I think that in the long run, things are really going to only keep going up. I mean, there's still so many characters and stories that they haven't done yet that, I mean, yes, like we're going to be kind of moving or shifting from a more classic Marvel and a classic Avengers more into like the new Avengers, and then eventually even the young Avengers that you alluded to, Felts, before. I'm sure that's all on the table, and multiverse crossovers, and the whole 9 yards. So I guess my point is I don't really see the MCU slowing down at all. In fact, I think it's speeding up. It's picking up business ever since Endgame with all the Disney Plus shows and the new movies and stuff. And I think that, again, like I said, there will probably be a little bit of a popularity decline at first, just because of the loss of those big, marquee characters. But at the end of the day, I think things are only going to keep going up for them. So they've built such a strong foundation, I think, with everything that they've done thus far, that it would take something pretty catastrophic to mess that up. So I don't know how you feel about all that, Felts, if you want to weigh in.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be a little bit of a rough restart. Maybe not rough, but a little
Well,
tumble.
at
But
least they can
it's
use
good. I think it's
COVID
going to pick right
as
back
an
up.
excuse. At least they can use COVID as an excuse.
Yeah, I mean that. I mean, it's not just an excuse, though. I think it definitely has some.
It's like well timed because I think they were going in the shitter anyway.
I don't know if you're just exaggerating or being funny, but I definitely wouldn't say that at all. I mean, a slight drop off because of loss of
I
big
mean, listen,
flagship characters.
Iron Man died,
Yeah,
Black Widow died, Hulk has a gimp arm, Thor is fat, Captain America's 90, and fucking like Black Panther died in real life. So they're
yeah.
fucked. They lost all their like main characters, to be honest.
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, yes, you're seeing a.
They just gotta bring back. They gotta be Michael B. Jordan and retcon the end of it, Black Panther 1, where he actually killed T'Challa.
No, I don't think
I
that's gonna
heard that
happen.
some people want that.
Oh, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
that is
I know.
insane. That is ridiculous. No, just no. That would be terrible. Um, but yeah, I mean,
Not because of anything. Like, I think he's great, but like,
that'd be
it's
terrible.
really dumb whenever you retcon something like that.
I mean, I'm not a. I think I've
Oh, I
said
agree.
this before. I'm not a big fan of retcons in general, but much less something that would be that cataclysmic or
Like,
that
like
much.
retconning Superman's face
Yeah. Well, that's
into a
that's.
5-hour movie that nobody wants to fucking see.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we can talk about that after it comes out, if any of us see it, which I know one of us will. Felts. Um,
I don't know what you're talking about.
we're talking about that Justice League recut or whatever.
I know.
We don't need to talk
Yes,
about
I will
that
end
right
up
now.
watching it.
Yeah.
When you're talking about a
So.
recut, it's like basically like a fucking circumcision that they fucked up the first time, and then they're just gonna botch it even worse the second time.
Well,
Apparently the reviews are really good. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's because they paid all of them.
well, my thoughts on that are simply this. Again, to be off topic, but I think that it's just gonna. At the end of the day, that whole thing is just gonna be a long way to go for not much. I mean, it's going to be a lot for maybe just a little more explanation or a little more
Let's
sense.
re-release the 2008 Incredible Hulk redone with Mark Ruffalo for no fucking reason. That's
To
basically
be
what they're
honest
doing
with
right
you, I
now.
don't want that, but I really, really, really would like a solo Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk movie, and I'm not
I
really
would
sure
too.
why we got
I
one.
feel like
We
that
got
would
one.
ruin the mystique of you thinking it would be good.
I mean, I'm sure it would be good because it would be made by Marvel, and pretty much everything they do has been good.
But the
So
Edward Norton Hulk movie wasn't very good.
I mean, but that was in the early days, you know. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like it would be fine. Maybe it obviously probably wouldn't be the greatest thing ever, but I'm sure it would be good. And I'm sure everybody would watch it and like it. So I'm not worried about that. But I am kind of. It is kind of strange, I guess, why they haven't done that
I guess
yet.
because they already gave us 2 chances and they both sucked. So
I guess could be.
There were two Hulk movies that were not very well received.
that's yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but I don't know. I feel like the time has come. I mean, obviously it's not on the docket, so it's probably not going to happen. But
You know who needs his own solo movie is Cyclops.
yeah, not really. I don't really need that. I don't think.
Or Nightcrawler.
Yeah, I don't need that either. I don't think that the
He
only
has three
X
fingers, man.
the only X Men that I would care enough about for solo movies would be obviously Wolverine. Um,
That's only because they've conditioned you to care. If they would have made
no,
X
no,
Men Origins
Wolverine has
Cyclops,
always
you would
been.
have ate that shit up.
No, the only Wolverine has always been that character that's more of a
X Men
standalone.
Origins
So
Quicksilver, X Men Origins Magneto, X Men Origins Patrick
Magneto
Stewart. You would have fucking
was
eaten up all of them.
yeah, Magneto, Professor X, and Wolverine. That's it.
And Wolverine only became that level after Hugh Jackman played him.
I mean, I don't know about that. You can argue, obviously, Hugh Jackman obviously elevated the character to new heights, but when
Nobody cared about
Wolverine was,
Wolverine until Hugh Jackman
that is
played
just
him. He
not
was on the
true.
same level
That
as
is
That's
Cyclops or
not true at
Nightcrawler or
all.
not true.
Colossus or
That
any
is
of them.
100% not true. Wolverine was always like one
100%
of the
true.
Wolverine was like one of the biggest characters in not only probably the biggest character in X-Men and one of the biggest characters in the whole Marvel franchise long
Dude,
before
he was
Hugh
not
Jackman
even
took the
top
reins.
10 in Marvel.
Oh my god, you're obviously
In
just
your book.
full of shit.
Spider-Man, all four of the Fantastic Four,
You're full of
Hulk,
shit.
Iron Man, Thor, Captain America,
Wolverine was very close to the top with everyone.
Professor X, Magneto. Wolverine was like below all of them.
He was not. No,
He was.
it's not true.
The
But
Fantastic Four were a big deal like in the 90s and earlier.
yeah, Fantastic Four definitely used to be a bigger deal than it is now. But
You are forgetting that Wolverine was in the X-Men TV show too, right?
I'm not
Yeah, but
forgetting
he was
that.
on the same level as like jobber ass fucking
No,
Colossus.
he was like always. They had to bring him in to like actually win the fight and like clean shit
No
up.
way. He was a
Like,
pussy. He never did anything. You were like, oh no, it's Wolverine. He's got claws. And then as soon as they fought like Omega Red, who was the guy who could scream Ruckus, they're like, oh my god, Wolverine can't take Ruckus's scream.
well, I mean, obviously
He
he's
was a
not.
jobber,
Well,
man.
obviously he's not indestructible, and he wasn't indestructible in the cartoons. But he was definitely he was clearly the strongest of them in my view.
No, he wasn't. Not even
He was very
close.
clearly.
Fucking Nightcrawler,
All right, you
Colossus,
you have to be the
Cyclops,
tiebreaker, Sam. Feltz.
Professor X,
Wolverine was the
the Angel
strongest.
guy,
Right, Wolverine was the strongest Archangel. But Wolverine was the
Archangel.
strongest, right? Right, Feltz.
He was stronger than Beast, but that's about it.
Nah, he was
Sorry,
he,
my
Maybe like,
he was
and maybe
tier
like the
one.
bitch who shot, maybe like the bitch who shot fireworks out of her fingers. But other than that,
Jubilee.
like not really.
Jubilee.
Jubilee. Yeah.
Well, in any event, this is all extremely off topic. So I think
Dude, even Gambit gave Wolverine a run for his money with his stick and exploding cards.
yeah, I think this is about time for meeting adjourned since we're so far off topic, and I think we've said pretty much everything we need to say about WandaVision, and also looking forward to the future of the MCU. So, um, yeah, would you like to have any final thoughts there, Feltz?
Nope.
And Johnny, I know I'm
All
gonna
I've said has been said.
and I know I'm gonna regret this, but Johnny, any final
I just want
thoughts?
to say that 4 score and 7 years ago, the 90s X-Men cartoon was the greatest piece of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And we actually had a Marvel Cinematic Universe before the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it was called the Marvel Animated Universe. And it included X-Men, Iron Man, Hulk, Spider-Man, and all those other, if there were any I'm forgetting, 90s Marvel cartoons, of which obviously Cyclops, Wolverine, Colossus, all of the jobber X-Men, not jobber, but like mid-tier X-Men were on the same level, and Wolverine was not elevated above them until Hugh Jackman played Wolverine, and not even until actually after that, when Hugh Jackman got his own solo Wolverine movies, was he even elevated above the rest of the X-Men. But I digress, because in the 90s, that was the real cinematic universe of Marvel, and I can't wait until Madam Web shows up, and please, she's played by Betty White.
You know, everything you said was very, Yeah.
Accurate.
Not everything, but the only thing that I really can endorse about that entire monologue was Betty White coming in as Madam Web. Although I don't think it's going to happen, I think
No.
that would probably be awesome. So
I hope so.
yeah, but yeah, I think that'll about do it. So that's it. Thanks for watching in, everybody. Hope you all enjoyed. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, share the video if you did enjoy. Stay tuned for more new videos in the future. I'd like to thank my guests, the panel, version 2, Jonny Reps and Feltz Wild, for being here to discuss WandaVision and really all things Marvel and superhero related and a bunch of other random shit. So thank you guys for that.
Thanks. And you're welcome.
Yeah.
All right,
Too
so
sweet.
that's it, and we'll see you next time.